it lovingly helps us experience 100% of who we are, the parts that we are afraid to express, whether it's, afraid to be seen, afraid to speak in front of people. It challenges us to overcome the past so that we can be 100% in our soul experience, in who we are meant to be here.
Hi, I'm Swara, and welcome to the Akashic Records Unlocked Summit, where you can heal your past, realize who you're meant to be, and live an extraordinary life. Today, I'm so happy to have a very special guest with me, Linda Berger. Linda is a business mastery coach and international Akashic Records consultant. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you. And also I'm a teacher too, an Akashic Record teacher.
Wonderful.
So thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here, Swara, as part of your esteemed group of Akashic Record consultants and teachers. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm so glad you're here. And we just want to learn more about you. Can you tell us about your journey to the Akashic Records?
Oh, it was so long ago. It was in the late 90s. And I had a friend, I really wasn't spiritual, so I didn't know anything in the spiritual arena. I was a businesswoman, all about the money, nothing else. And I had a friend that started to teach me through her own experience about spiritual awakening or spiritual growth. And she was telling me about a phenomenal experience she had with a woman that she had a reading. And I didn't know what she meant by that, but she said, you absolutely have to do this. It changed everything in the way I looked. So I didn't ask what it was or anything. I just said, what is the phone number? I asked her. She gave me the phone number. I called the woman up. I made an appointment. When I got off the phone, I realized that I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I never asked her how much it was going to be. I didn't know anything. I just showed up on my appointment. And that was the moment that changed my life. So I went there. She told me I had to ask questions. I did. My hour was up. I was walking out the door. She lived on the third floor. I was walking down the stairs and I kept hearing this loud voice, you need to do this. You need to do this. And I'm like, what the heck is that? What is going on? So I walked back up the stairs and I knocked on her door and I said, I know this sounds really strange, but I think I'm supposed to do what you do. And she said that she was a teacher and the rest has been history. I have used the Akashic Records since the late 90s. I became a teacher in 97 and have used the records in so many different ways. And now I really take deep dives into it and teach people how to access the soul of their business through the Akashic Records.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I love that. I love that. There's so much about your story that I feel like I can relate to personally. The fact that you had this reading, though, that your friend told you to go, and it really seemed like it was a leap of faith. And to not be familiar with the spiritual world and to take that leap of faith. But then right after, then to hear that call and then heed that call, what an amazing act. What trust you had in that voice, in the universe, in what you had just experienced. That's amazing. Wow. Like really kudos to you for answering that call and listening to that call. And it just changed your life in a whole new direction. Amazing.
Definitely. And I can't say that I trusted it because I didn't know what it was. I think I was naive and I thought, oh, okay, I guess so. I don't know anything about this. I know how to run a business, but I don't know what this is. So yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I also can feel something similar with your story in that the Akashic Records really calls us. It's not so much that we just kind of decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do. There's a calling that sort of happens for us. So that's beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So considering all of the work that you do today, business mastery coach, Akashic Records consultant, and teacher. Can you tell us, what are you most passionate about right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I am most passionate about business owners, any type of business owner, it doesn't matter, but to have them discover and learn about the soul of their business and to align with it and to understand how important they are as the human vessel, the human owner, the ambassador, the steward of this business, to ensure that the business meets its contracts with the souls that created that soul to help with their need. So it can be a spiritual business owner, a tarot card reader, a massage therapist, a lawyer, an accountant, an insurance broker. It doesn't matter. Each one of the businesses has this amazing, magnificent soul that brings souls together to complete karma, to create karma, to complete contracts, to start contracts. And the first time the Akashic Record Keepers showed me what a business soul looks like, I was rather new at it. And I had a client come in and he asked me some questions about his business. And I said, well, I don't know if I can get any information, but I'll certainly try. And they just showed me this beautiful sphere of all these energies coming into the sphere and coming and going and mingling. And the energies were just so many different colors. And I was in love with that. Because I was a business person. So for me to wake up and see this experience, I thought, oh my God, I need to know more about this. Mm-hmm. And so I've timidly questioned and asked as time went on and years went on, but I was very conscious about separating my spiritual business and my business. And I was very cautious not to cross them. So I guess you would say I was kind of like a spiritual closeted business owner, except when it felt safe, because I didn't want my business owners to think, what is going on with her? She's very woo-woo. I don't know if she could really help me. So that's what I'm passionate about, is taking the woo-woo out of the strategic, practical applications and tools of business building, but allowing the soul of the business to help the owner with the blueprint that it has for helping its segment of humanity that it is meant to heal and help fix their needs or things like that. So the more I got into it, the more excited I got, because it's just so profound. And the more I lean into it and learn more with the students that I teach and the clients that I have, there's always something more to learn. And so I love to learn, and I love to share what I learned to make it easier for people to understand. So the Akashic Records is just such a vast experience for people. And for me, I just found my sweet spot in the business records.
Beautiful. I always knew that businesses, homes, properties had separate Akashic records, but to hear it in the terms of your business has a soul, it brings it to a whole nother level. That wow, it's sort of alive, it sort of has its own intention, it has its own needs, it has its own life to it, and that we are stewards of that. That just completely switches the conversation. It makes it something completely different. I love that. And so when people work with you and the soul of the business, and you see also the soul of the person and how those two things are having a conversation and reacting off of each other, how does that work? Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the record keepers gave me the symbol of an infinity sign to help people, because everyone knows what an infinity sign is and how the energy moves back and forth. So as they were teaching me how to teach others so that they would understand this, they said use the infinity sign. And one side of the infinity sign is the soul of the business, and the other side of the infinity sign is the owner, of the soul of the owner. And so when the business gets stuck in any way, it's not because the business energy is stuck, it's because the owner's side is stuck. So the business is meant to, well, I say pull out of us because it pulls us into it, but it lovingly helps us experience, 100% of who we are, the parts that we are afraid to express, whether it's, afraid to be seen, afraid to speak in front of people. It challenges us to overcome the past so that we can be 100% in our soul experience, in who we are meant to be here to express this business. And so that's what's so beautiful about it. And that it wants us to be successful. It wants us to have the life we desire because it wants us to give it everything it needs so it can fulfill its contracts. So it's this beautiful symbiotic relationship that once a business owner experiences the flow of it, the easier it is to trust it more and more.
That's beautiful. It sounds to me that the soul of the business wants to express itself in a certain way to get certain things done here on the physical plane. It sort of has its own mission. And in relation to the business owner, it also seems like it's in service to lift that soul up as well, to bring that soul forward, to have, overcome, heal, step up into a fuller life, all those things. So that's amazing. Can you tell us, it just seems like it's a symbiotic relationship, like you said, a symbiotic relationship where both get to grow into something bigger. That's amazing.
Yes. And when I'm teaching my students, or even when I have my clients, excuse me, the most important experience is to really know that you can trust this loving CEO. It would not harm you in any way. It would not steal from you or abandon you. It's there to be of service so that you can be of service. So what it's doing is it's kind of triggering areas that keep us stuck, keep our business from growing, bring us into, it triggers the inner victim in us so that we can overcome, whether it's something very major in our life or something very subtle. And so that we can allow that energy to keep moving. So whenever the business is struggling in any way, it isn't the business that's struggling. It isn't something outside of you or the business. It's something within us that needs to be looked at and to be challenged and to be released, or at least to be discovered, so that the owner can say, well, I don't really want to carry that around with me anymore. I didn't even really know I still had that.
Yeah, amazing. So it sounds to me like I don't know how to say it besides, I feel like I wouldn't be alone in this, that I am in this dialogue with my own business. And in some ways, the Akashic Records are coming in also and supporting that dialogue, revealing information. And so I feel like I just wouldn't be alone, that this is so much bigger than just me. So when people work with you in this kind of way, having that dialogue, having that infinity symbol conversation going back and forth, what can they expect when they work with you? What are some things that will begin to unfold? And do you have any stories for us?
Well, the first thing, there's a couple things. One is they learn about the purpose of the business. I mean, when we intuitively, it's interesting whether it's a client or a student, and I'll say, okay, intuitively, tell me what you think the purpose of your business is. And then they'll tell us, and then we'll go into the records of the business, into the soul of the business. And it's much more expansive, much more, I kind of look at it as this big cloud of that is filled with this mission driven. And what happens next is they're super excited. And then all of a sudden they feel, oh my God, I am just too small to accomplish something so big. But that's not true, because it's not that you have to accomplish the whole thing at one time. It comes in different plans with different strategies, with different tools to use. And as you move forward in there, it's triggering stuff that is in your past that you need to unlock in your old belief systems. The record keepers have told us in my courses for my students is, the past isn't pulling us into it. We pull from the past when we get into that vulnerable place where we don't know what to do, when we're in overwhelm. So when you are faced with this big mission and you go into an overwhelm experience, we tend to go back and pull from what are our old belief systems, our old way of doing things, our old patterns of behavior. And what happens is we stay stuck. So what they learn to do is they learn to realize that they receive information from the soul of the business in very actionable steps, very tangible, where they can in all practicality, take their steps to move forward. The challenge is letting go of the past. And what I always teach my students is that the most beneficial place to be when you're working with the soul of the business is in that vulnerable state of not knowing what's next. Because what they're really creating, if they look at the bigger picture for their business, it is so unique to the partnership between the two, that they're creating their own model, their own business model to walk into, to ensure that their life is taken care of and the business's higher purpose is taken care of. So as they start to let go of the past and be vulnerable, they're stepping into something new. And most business owners are really great at what they do, but they're not very good at business fundamentals, business tools, something as basic as even time management. So that's where a lot of people fall off and think that they're not a good business owner, or I tried that and it didn't work. And that's just because you're being influenced by the outside world of what you should be doing, what they're saying, and not from going into the business of the records, so that you can have clarity, so that you can know what's next to do, what is the next step to do. The business would never overwhelm you. It just wouldn't. And it wouldn't put you into the poorhouse either. It wouldn't, you're not supposed to work 24/7 and spend every dime you have. Right. So when people work with me or my students, is they're learning how to, one, let go of the past, two, be vulnerable, so that they can see the next step. They can know the next step from working in the soul of the records. And then they start taking those steps forward, which trigger their stuff. Yeah. And so it's this constantly letting go, allowing, moving forward, trigger, letting go. But all the time that they're doing that, their business is expanding. So it isn't that they're doing all this and nothing is happening. They're starting to see and experience more money in their bank account, more clients that they're helping, more clarity about their courses, their whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What I'm experiencing is a letting go of the past, almost like letting your grip, sort of your hand open, and then being present here, vulnerable, open. But also I do feel this sense of pulling in the future, or pulling myself towards the future a bit by accessing the Akashic records of my business. There is this sense like, it's okay if I trust, I can pull myself forward into what the business is wanting to move into. And you've mentioned a couple times that the business has its own plans and strategies. Is that something that you help people unlock? Is that, that sounds
Yes.
like it's unique information for every business.
Well, first, one of the things that's so unique about the work that I do is that I call myself bilingual. I consider myself bilingual, but not in the sense of language, but more business language and spiritual language. So basically, what I'm teaching a lot of these business owners is the language of business, of strategic business. How do you use strategy? What are the tools you use? How do you hire people? One of my clients, an attorney, she would always hire the wrong person, and she would end up having to do double work, her work and the assistant's work. So when you go into the soul of the business with, should I hire this person or should I hire that person? And you get the information of, no, this person is not the right one, or what are you looking for? One of my students needed an accountant, and but she needed a specific type of accountant, somebody that she could work with, that it was really took her needs and her feelings into consideration. So that's a different kind of accountant than one just strictly for the business. So she was able to come to class with, okay, there's 3 people I want to hire. Which one is the best one for this intention? And she would hire the same person. The woman's been working for her now for over a year. She's just done really well. She flourished. So it's not just about, this is the next step you need to take. When is it time to do your marketing? Where do you do your marketing? So it's understanding that there's an art form, one, to formulating questions, but there's also a learning curve to understand the type of questions you need to ask from a business's perspective versus a broader view. You want to get much more specific, much more tighter of, okay, exactly what do I need to do? What are the strategies for me to get from A to B or B to D, or, where you're kind of, what's the best way, the fastest way to get there? I always tell my students, I said, look at it as you want to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And a lot of times spiritual business owners are like, well, I'm not in it for the money or things like that. And that is so not the way the soul of the business wants you to look. It wants you to understand that the money comes because you're out there you're out there because you're understanding that you need to break through all of your stuff so that, and it's typically money stuff that people have a hard time with. That's where their triggers are. And so the business wants you to make the money, because the more money you make, that means the more clients you see.
Right.
So it's not just about the clients. It's about, I need to make X number of dollars because, and then if you break that dollars down into clients, then you really get to see the impact you're making.
Yeah, it seems like it's a very solid, concrete indicator of the amount of energy that you're moving, the amount of impact you're having in the world. It seems like a really good gauge or meter that's very concrete. So that helps a lot. It helps take a lot of that emotional stuff out of it. It takes a lot of the blocks or things that we've heard about money. Money is the root of all that type of thinking out of it. And we could look at it as just like a thermometer. It's a gauge. That's all it is. So that's beautiful.
Exactly. I remember when I first started coaching, and I was thinking, oh, well, I'm just doing it for the service to help people and do whatever I can. And so I started to look at how many people, if I just worked, how many people I wanted to coach a week and things like that. And I added it up for the end of the year, just the number of people. And I was like, that's all I'm helping. I'm helping like 25 people a year. That's not enough people. So when you bring your numbers way up, and then you convert that to what does that mean in amounts of people that I need to see? How many clients do I need to see to make 100,000 or 50,000 or 500,000 or 1 million? And then you start to see that it becomes much more, you help more people, because when your numbers are higher, your dollar numbers, you start to find new ways to leverage, whether it's a book or a talk or, a TED talk, or, just being in front of more and more people. The soul starts to open these doors, these resources for you. So get used to wanting to make a lot of money, because wanting to make a lot of money just pushes you into a new place of helping more and more and more people. And I think that's what most people want. That's why we get in the business. We're passionate about helping people because we have a special, talent or a special gift or training, or, like I said, it could be a lawyer, it could be an accountant, it could be an insurance broker, it could be a spiritual teacher. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. The soul is there because it is representing the segment of humanity that formed it. It's not like our soul. Our soul is very multidimensional. It has all these past lives, all these beautiful expressions in it. And the soul has a purpose. Its purpose is to help the segment of humanity that called it into being.
Beautiful. I know that our audience is going to find this so impactful, so important, because really it is perception. It's just how you're holding it, and changing that perception just by a little bit, allowing for this idea that the business has a soul. It goes back to that. And that soul has certain things it wants to express and do in the world. And we're in this conversation with that. That's beautiful. That is so incredibly valuable right there.
Thank you.
I do want to ask about go back a little bit and ask about the questions. You said that it's really about the art of asking questions, and asking certain questions with your business, Akashic Records, and being strategic. This seems like it was like a really practical sort of insight you're having. Can you tell us more about that?
So when there truly is an art in formulating questions, and it's so interesting because when I have let's say a personal consultation, and people come prepared with their questions, they're usually very vague and very broad, because we have all these questions going on in the back of our mind all the time. Like, I wonder why this, or who is this? But when it comes time to actually someone says to you, so what's your question? Most people don't understand, like, okay, this is the question. All right, but it needs to be much more specific. It's almost like we need permission to ask. And tell me how to make my business successful. So the questions that, actually I have a free download for your viewers with some questions. But first, you want to know about the purpose. So what is my purpose? What is the business's purpose? Why was it formed? And then let's just say it's to feed a part of humanity that is underserved or something like that. Well, that is very broad. That's very big. So and then it's, what is my contract with the soul of the business? And then you may find that, well, you are to make you have the connections, or you will be receiving the connections of the people that will bring you to the place you need to be a greater resource, to have more resources, or be the resource. Sometimes we're just the connector. Sometimes we're the influencer. So it depends where you're at. And then also, okay, so now we have a big idea. Now we're totally overwhelmed that we are just, human, we're small. And all of our not enough stuff starts coming up. So what they want to do is to go, okay, so I understand that's the big picture. What can I do today? Like right now, what is the best, most practical, most forward moving step that I can take right now in my business to work toward that bigger mission? Right now, every day, wake up right now. Then you get your calendar out. Okay, what do I need to do on Mondays? What's Monday a good day for in my business? Maybe it's admin, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's writing, getting ideas, maybe it's learning more, training, being in a mastermind, being in a class, having a coach. It's really important to get support so that you learn how to ask those questions, because most people get the big picture and that's where the overwhelm starts. So you want to break it down, and that takes time to learn how to do that. It's how do you kind of massage that question to get the most energy moving from the soul of the business. And because if nothing's coming out, or if it's very choppy, then it's not the right question. So it needs to be reformulated. For example, I was telling you about the one student that wanted to hire an accountant. So normally, well, I need to hire an accountant. Okay, great. But what I was getting from her business was, well, what do you need this accountant for? You know, well, I need it for accounting. But then it seems that, do you have any personal needs that you need to have from an accountant? Now, she wouldn't have asked that question. It was something that I knew how to. And she says, well, as a matter of fact, I do. I really need these. So a lot of times through the questioning, we have more questions, because it's that leaning in that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. That's beautiful and amazing. And you mentioned it already. It's a wonderful segue into the free gift. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, so the website is questions4. So it's questions4biz, biz.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to download, I think there's maybe 6 or 8 questions that you can actually intuitively, if you don't know how to open the Akashic Records, you can intuitively go in and at least start with these questions and start to work with them to see, you know, how much information you can receive. And if you need more, you just can schedule a call with me, or you can come to a class to learn how to do this yourself. You don't need to be an Akashic Record consultant in order to learn the access key that I teach in my 4-month course of how to work with the soul of your business. So it's about learning a new language. I think if we understand that we're learning the language of business as it relates to ourselves, and that it's kind of a little bit self-help and a little bit of business, working together to get this fluid movement going, the energy going.
Beautiful.
So it's questions4biz.com.
Beautiful. Yes, I love that idea of the conversation, the self-help and the business work coming together. That it seems to sum up everything you've been talking about today. It really is that conversation back and forth. Beautiful, lovely. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the very generous gift. We've really been talking about, pointed, strategic things to help with that conversation and help to look at your business in a completely different light. So this is a powerful gift, very generous of you to bring forward for our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are so welcome. I love it. I want every business to be able to access the soul so they can change the world much faster.
Yeah.
Just get to their mission and accomplish it.
Yeah, beautiful, so powerful. Thank you. And it looks like we've come up to the end.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for being here. We really appreciate this talk, Linda. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, you are so welcome. And I am so grateful to be able to share this amazing work with your listeners. So thank you so much.
Thanks. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for being here today. We are going to take a deeper dive into the Akashic Records every single day for this week. So please come back tomorrow as we continue to unbox more strategies, more insights about how to work in the Akashic Records, how to go deeper, and we'll see you there. Thank you so much. Bye.